Aloha. We have Dave Sutliff. How you say the last part? Atias.
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 Atias, yeah.
Atias. Okay. All right. So how's your week been?
All right, busy, like any good candidate.
Right
Doing
on.
a
So
lot of
tell me about
stuff,
it.
talking to a lot of people, doing a lot of listening.
Well, what were they telling you?
Well, it's interesting that a lot of the neighborhood association meetings I go to, there's usually a representative of the police department there.
Oh,
And at almost every one, they report that crime is down. And yet public safety seems to be the number one. That and the utility company, like we talked about last week.
right.
Those are the two main issues: is public safety and our issues with our local utility company. So it's interesting how the police are saying crime's down, but that but everyone else seems to disagree. So it's
So what are they saying though? Do they have like specific gripes or specific concerns? The everyone else.
like in a lot of cities, I can't speak to, if how this happens in smaller places, but uh there's kids these days that are stealing cars. There's
Okay.
apparently that Hyundai thing where there's stuff's been put out on social media and how you can break into them easy or something like that. So there's
They
a
put that
rash
out
of
on
car
social
theft.
media.
Yeah, oh yeah, there was stuff on TikTok on like somebody figured out a way to easily break into. There's a weakness in the computer systems in Hyundais and Kias. And so the kids around here are nicknamed the Kia Boys because those are the cars they look for.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
So there's a lot of kids who don't know how to drive, stealing cars and driving around town and creating some chaos. Um, the cops were giving out the club, the thing you put in your steering wheel. They
Yeah.
were giving those out for a while, and it's pretty interesting. I mean, it's it's pretty easy if you think about it. It's pretty easy to explain. We can do this in the concept of public safety as well. In general, I mean, um, it's just been generation after generation of neglecting certain neighborhoods, people of color, uh, just of abject poverty from, one generation to the next. And it's been going on for, you could even say centuries. And all of this behavior is just a manifestation of that neglect and if you, some would even say abuse. And I've talked to these kids. There was a time I was teaching in one of the local jails, and whenever the young kids would come in, they expect to either be in jail or dead,
That's sad.
and so they don't care. You can throw cops on every corner, and they just don't care. They expect to be incarcerated or killed at a young age.
Why do you think they don't care?
Well, again, I think they've grown up in an environment where no one around them cares. The way our leaders, the way our systems are set up, I mean, it just, even if it doesn't come and doesn't walk right up to you and say, "Hey, we don't really care about you," it shows in how the certain neighborhoods are taken care of or not taken care of,
Right.
the type of housing they grow up in, the way the schools are.
Right.
Um, I mean, whether they can verbalize it or not, a lot of folks, and forget about the current younger generation. I mean, even people my age, and if you've grown up in your family for generations has grown up in poverty, you're just going to assume the system doesn't care about you.
True. True. It does make sense. Yeah. So, do you have any solutions for this problem, or like any ideas to
Yeah.
help this problem?
Basically, honestly, some type of reparations. I mean, I use that word, but if you take a look at the things that I call for in my platform, or even the Green parties in general, without saying, although the Green Party's platform does actually use the word reparations, specifically in there. And I think we're the only political party in the country that has that in our platform. I'm pretty sure, at least it used to be. If there's one of the other smaller ones that does, I didn't know about it, but I know for a while anyway, we've been the only party for decades now that has had reparations built into our platform. But if you look at the things I'm trying to do, it's that, just not using that word. I didn't even realize it Man, 2019, I think it was. I was at a candidate forum in a black church, and the questions that were being asked and how I was describing my platform in terms of housing as a human right and cooperative economics and using uh, city resources to build co-ops in places that need jobs, as well as the type of businesses that we need, like in food deserts and stuff like that. And I realized at that moment, geez, a lot of the stuff that I'm trying to do, that I'm calling for, could be included in a reparations program.
Right.
Didn't set out that way. It just really seemed to work out. The folks who've been mistreated for centuries, if in this country, giving them an even playing field.
So that's what actually Martin Luther King did at the end of his career, where he was really focused on black people at first and civil rights or whatever, but then towards the end he started talking about just poor people in general, the Poor People's
Yeah.
Campaign. He's including white people, poor any people, and right before his march on Washington, obviously that's when he got killed or whatever. But a lot of people say that the government was cool with him just working with black people, right? That was okay because poor white people weren't in on it. Native Americans, any other people, Chinese, Asians, or whatever, were just kind of okay, whatever. And black people weren't enough, right? But then when he started including other people, that's when it got serious, and that's when the government had to shut it down.
Yeah. That's the last thing they want, is like all the poor folks, no matter what color of their skin or what other group they can put themselves in. Man, if we just got together and had it more of a class struggle, oh yeah, no, they'll totally come down on us for harder than they already are, for sure.
So you said the Green Party uses reparations in their chart, not charter, whatever, in their wording.
Platform, yeah.
So do you know what they say about reparations?
Ooh, well, I don't think so. One of the things you got to be careful with when you're doing something like this is if you get too specific, you kind of put yourself in a corner sometimes. So I don't have it memorized, but I do know that it's uh general enough to where it can work depending on at what level of government, what kind of resources there are, and also giving the people who would be affected by it a say in how reparations are being done.
Right. Yes.
And there's for years there's been, there's meetings and symposiums and studies and how much it could cost or what it could mean or what other ways it could be constituted, and it really should come from the people who have been injured.
Right.
They should be saying this is what we expect in terms of reparations.
Right.
And if I remember right, that's kind of the way the platform is phrased, so that the people who have been affected have say in how this will take place.
That sounds pretty good. I was talking to a member of the DSA last Monday, and I was asking them, talking about this left wing coalition trying to bring DSA into the
Yeah,
Green
yeah,
Party and whatnot. And so out here, our DSA is really young and really active. You said over there they were kind of like a Democratic wing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So one of the questions he asked me was about Hawaiian sovereignty, and he was talking about how Hawaiians kind of want to break away from the U.S. And so I told him that like I had a not necessarily that I had a different idea, but I guess it's a different idea where I didn't think that we should be breaking away from the U.S. or breaking up. Like we need to be like if you're really on the left and you really want like the end goal is to have like everybody in the world come together at one point, right? Like we're all going to be this one Earth instead of a bunch of different broken up places, right? So I told him more like I think Hawaiian people should have more sovereignty, but I think that what it would be something like Hawaiian should be taught in every school. If you live in Hawaii and you go through Hawaiian, whatever, like you live through Hawaii, like from 5 to 18 or whatever, you should speak fluent Hawaiian. You should have Hawaiian culture classes in school, so you should know how to cook Hawaiian style. You should know Hawaiian history. You should know everything about Hawaii. Just because we took this place over, we should respect it. And so then to respect it, we should teach the people here and let the Hawaiians teach them, right? And maybe in a generation or two, other people can start teaching because they'll know it from the Hawaiians. But that was kind of my idea, right? And so I also had the idea that like Samoa, Puerto Rico, and all our territories,
Yeah,
they
I
don't
was
get
gonna
to
mention
vote.
Puerto Rico. Yeah,
Right, they're not full citizens, right? I think they should be allowed to be full citizens and have the right to vote. And there's like Guam. There's a couple other ones. I think the Virgin Islands maybe. But we have a few territories where they're not full citizens, but they have some rights, but they can't vote, and it's weird for them in different. And some of them need a passport, some of them don't. It's like odd. I just like I don't know if you have any ideas on that. It's kind of not real close to where you're at, but any ideas on like how, oh, what made me think about it was because you were saying in the reparations that the people should get to choose kind of what they want to do with it. And I thought that kind of the same way with the Hawaiian sovereignty a bit, but still more coming together as one world, I guess, under the U.S. for now, but coming together with BRICS eventually, stuff like that.
Yeah. I can tell you that the Greens as a national party have aligned with folks who want to separate from the U.S. and that includes Hawaiians as well as Puerto Ricans. There's the Puerto Rican Independence Party that has a small group here in Rochester. We have I think Rochester, New York has man, I don't remember the number, but percentage wise has one of the largest Puerto Rican populations in the country. And there is a small Puerto Rican Independence Party group here in town, and we've done some things with them in the past. And so I think it really for the Greens it centers around U.S. imperialism and colonialism.
Right.
But if the folks literally on each island wanted to stay within the U.S. system, then obviously, yeah, they should have full rights, just like anyone else. And it was funny when you were talking about being taught Hawaiian culture and the language. When I was teaching on Maui for a couple of years, I found myself having to teach Hawaiian history.
Oh, nice.
And so I had to go and learn it right before I was teaching it, which was awesome. But it was just interesting that I was doing it. It felt a little odd that I was teaching Hawaiian history when I was like, boy, couldn't you find someone else a little less pale to do this? It felt really kind of weird, but it was the job at the time.
Right.
And I even had a parent complain that I wasn't giving the white person's perspective.
That you were or you weren't?
I was not.
Oh, and they wanted you to?
Yes.
Oh, was it a white parent?
Yeah, yes,
Oh,
of course.
okay.
Of course it was.
I was
yes,
thinking, like, why would
absolutely.
they? I see.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. And I had a principal at the time who totally understood me. He was like, don't worry, Dave, I got this. I just want to let you know. I'm like, just look out the window. He's like, I know, I got it. He was really good. I was able to teach at the time I don't even think there was a young readers version of Howard Zinn yet. But I mean, I was teaching that type of stuff. And I had administration that was behind what I was doing, so it was pretty cool. But every once in a while, I would get, not teaching the white perspective. Okay.
So you said you had the Puerto Rican branch of what'd you call it?
The Puerto Rican Independence Party.
Puerto Rican Independence Party. So my thing is, you said they're in Rochester, right? So if Puerto Rico did break a, oh yeah, a wing
just
of
a few.
them.
There's
Yeah.
just a few, yeah.
So if my thing was when I was talking to the guy from Hawaii, and I've talked to Samoans and other people, right? If they did break away, they wouldn't have the same rights or protection that they would under the United States, right? Like the people, they might not be able to come to America so freely, right? You might need a passport now, and
True.
and especially with Donald Trump and the way things are going, it might be harder to get in here, and they might even just start kicking you out.
Yeah, no, that's true. But you also don't have, in theory, you would have more control over capitalists coming in and pretty much taking all the land and using it as like trying to turn it into the next Disneyland or something.
And so that's what
So
go ahead.
there's no perfect solution to anything. There's always going to be pluses and minuses. So and again, it should be a real election about that if Puerto Rico wants to become a state. I mean, every election that I've understood that they try to have has always been a little shady behind the scenes, and it's not an accurate count, and some groups who are advocating for certain things boycott some of the elections they've had, and it's never been a true open transparent process in terms of any of the times Puerto Ricans have had the opportunity to vote on statehood.
Right. So the guy from the DSA that I was talking to, he said the same thing about capitalism. Like, well, if we become one world under the U.S. and it just all becomes capitalism, that won't be no good for anybody. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, and I didn't think about it that way when I was talking about it because I just wasn't. But what I tried to tell him, what I was thinking is like, if it does happen this way, if we bring Puerto Rico and we bring Samoa in, and like Hawaii gets like they're already in, but like what it is the people now join say the Green Party. What we got to do is we got to stop the capitalists. Because if we say Puerto Rico separates, Samoa separates, and say Hawaii separates, the capitalist class is still going to do their thing. They're going to come and now Samoa will have less protection because it won't be part of America. Like America doesn't destroy itself as much as it destroys other countries, right? Like say Puerto Rico breaks away and they're right there. I don't know what kind of resources they have, but that's the time if they're not part of the U.S. Now the U.S. doesn't care about them no more. They don't have no U.S. laws. That's the time we send in like the economic hitmen or whatever. And we just give them some kind of resources, say we give them a loan, and then take it and like start using them or whatever. But my thing would be like if Puerto Rico tried to become more of a state and get its rights, then it would have 2 U.S. senators and however many representatives it would have, and then they would also be able to run for like say president and other things like that. And if they move throughout this country, they'd be allowed to run for mayors and different representatives in other places. Because if you're some, I don't know about Puerto Ricans right now, but I know Samoans. If you're born in Samoa, you're a U.S. national, and if you live anywhere in the U.S., you can't run for anything. But if you're born in the U.S. and Samoan, you're a U.S. citizen, and then you can be like us and run anywhere you want.
Yeah, the birthright clause. Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, it would be.
More up to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Absolutely. I
I
mean,
was just thinking that's something I would talk to them about, right? Just you get more power, right? And if you were a state, you get at least 2 senators, and I don't know how many representatives. Like I said, it'd be at least 1 or 3, something like that. But right
Yeah, I
on.
mean, what that would look like in terms of bringing anybody, any group of folks in officially, and like you said, they would have more of that because they can't. There, I think there's a representative in Congress, but they have no voting ability. They just kind of sit there and
Right, and see, then they would get
advocate.
the vote, right?
Yeah, sure. No, I completely understand that. I mean,
But see, my thing
yeah,
is, I want to change the U.S. capitalist government, right? I want us to get in there and take it over. Because even if we all split up, if we don't stop the capitalists, they're going to stop
right.
us eventually. They're going to
Yep.
keep doing their thing.
Yeah, the country's boundaries aren't going to matter.
Right, yeah, because rich
Yeah.
people ain't got boundaries. They go everywhere. Like, as soon as Trump was voting the first time, he was in Saudi Arabia, like, with that ball thing. They got those pictures. But, I mean, they all do it, right? They all go wherever they want
Yep.
and talk to whoever they want. Like, it's
Yeah.
crazy that Saudi is one of our top allies and they throw gay people off of buildings.
All right.
So, yeah.
We look at how many terrorists used to be our friends
Yeah,
until they
Osama
weren't
bin
useful
Laden.
for us to us anymore, and now all of a sudden they're the enemy.
Osama and, what's that rat
Uh,
guy?
Hussein,
Yeah, Saddam.
Saddam Hussein.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were
yeah,
our buddies before.
right. Absolutely. Noriega down in Panama, same thing. He
Right.
was our buddy till he wasn't.
So what else have you done the past week? You said you did the police thing, and then oh, one other
Just
question.
neighborhood associations. Our usual Saturday thing. We're getting ready for next Saturday to march in the St. Patrick's Day parade. An
What's
interesting
up?
coalition of folks too. So I got us in both for my campaign and the local Green Party into the parade, and then just started talking to groups we've been in solidarity with, particularly around Palestine, and the connection between the Irish struggle and the Palestinian struggle. Really, they're really connected. I mean,
Right.
Ireland has really been hardcore going after Zionism. And so, with the folks we've been working with doing our weekly protests against local war profiteers, um, we're all coming on board into this
Where's your
parade.
weekly protest at? Just in case anybody from Rochester, New York, is watching.
Actually, the funny thing is, just yesterday is going to be our last time at that place. So
Okay.
next Saturday, we're going to be in the parade, and then we're going to start moving it every Saturday. It'll be at a different place.
Okay. What
And we haven't just figured out where that's going to be
do you
yet.
know? Can they find the information somewhere, like at your website or?
Oh yeah, yeah. So a lot of times it gets put out on the Green Party of Monroe County our Instagram because we're brought in and the groups that create the graphics tend to share them with us or bring us in as collaborators. So if you follow, and it's literally our handle is Green Party of Monroe County on Instagram, then that'll be put up as information wherever that protest is going to be. But for this coming Saturday, on the 15th, we're going to be in the St. Patrick's Day Parade, and lineup starts at 11:30, and still waiting for the organizers to tell people where to go.
Okay.
The organizers are waiting until the last minute. We're all getting a little nervous, but we'll be there, and we've got some ideas for signs and banners and stuff like that. It's gonna be fun. I put down that we were gonna have 20 people. I think it could be closer to 40 or 50. It's gonna be fun.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. Everyone loves a parade.
So, signs and banners. Did you see the Trump speech the other day?
Oh, I would never torture myself with that.
Or I mean,
No.
did you see any news about it though afterwards?
I just saw people's reactions to it. As I did flip by a couple of times, and just catching half a sentence, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't. No, it just randomly, even just jumping, just putting an eyeball on it, and every sentence was just more bizarre than the next, and I just couldn't do it.
Did you see the Democrats' response to it?
No, I did read summaries of that though, and it was
Okay.
pretty. Yeah,
So-
there's no real resistance there.
Right. A lot of them were holding up signs, right? They had like these ping pong paddle looking things
Yeah,
that said
yeah.
like liar and just these different little phrases. And so a lot of people were making fun of them, talking about there was no real resistance, just these signs and these like little show of nothing, but they don't really do nothing, right? And who was it? Jasmine Crockett and AOC, they came out real hard talking about lowering prices and some different things. But then one of the big comebacks to them, people were saying, well, where was all this energy when Joe Biden was in? Like, they didn't say, oh, let's lower prices, let's get health care. They didn't push nothing because it was Joe Biden. But now when Trump's in, they want to, like, talk big and whatnot.
Yeah, that's well, we talked about that last week. I mean,
Yeah.
that's when they choose to put out legislation, when they choose to fight, and how they choose to fight. I mean, I don't have a scorecard. I have no smoking gun that says, "Here, look, they do this on purpose." But this is walking and talking like a duck, man. This is a duck. I mean, there's
I'm pretty sure
the
they
way
do it
they're
on purpose.
behaving, whether it's on purpose or what, it doesn't even matter if it's on purpose or not at this point, because the result is the result, and it's
result's
garbage.
the same.
So I don't even care anymore if it's on purpose. If there's a conspiracy, it's just from what they're doing, the way they're acting, whether it's realized or subconsciously or whatever, it ain't working, and they're not willing to change. So a lot of those folks need to step aside, let other folks try for a while.
So you don't seem to follow, like, the Democratic and Republican politics too much.
At a national level, I'll do some reading, some quick summarizing type stuff on it, but I don't get that far in depth. I'm more concerned and focused on enhancing what the Greens are trying to do, and that's feels like a full-time job in itself. So I mean, I obviously try to keep up to date somewhat, because you
Right.
got to know what you're fighting, but I'm trying to, like, what I'm trying to fight for what I want, not what I don't want.
Right.
I'm not trying to fight against things. I'm not trying to resist Trump as much as I would love it if all these people who are so mad and actually getting out into the street now would be fighting for something
Right.
and not against something.
So-
How about that energy to fight for single payer? Right? That
Right,
would be cool.
yeah. Keep that energy focused on something.
Yeah. To get something, not to prevent something.
So you were saying you focus more on trying to build the Green Party. What's your number one thing or number top few things that you do or you try to do or you think needs to be done to build the Green Party?
Well, locally, I mean, every local has their own situation. And like we talked about for here in Rochester, it is a one party monopoly. And most folks and the media here take the Democratic primary as the election in the city of Rochester. Not so much in the suburbs, but in the city proper. And it's just trying to whittle away at that. And hey, for as of right now, there's one green candidate this year in local elections. you need to include that candidate in all the stuff that you guys do and say that you're supporting democracy, right? You got to include all the candidates, not just the ones of parties you've heard of or that you're familiar with. At a state level, New York State, it's fighting these unbelievable new, relatively new rules to stay up to become and stay a party in New York State, and then nationally, there's talk about positioning ourselves as the actual resistance to what Trump's trying to do. And I think that is still being worked on. That my understanding is I'm not as tuned into happening at the national level. I have dipped my toe into that in the past, and it's just I can't focus on all of them,
Right.
local and state, and then do national too. I wasn't. It was watering down my effort, and I needed to let that go and just read the occasional email from somebody. But generally, I'm more focused on local and a little bit of state.
So are you the one candidate that's running, or is there another one?
Yeah,
You're
so
the-
far. Now, like I said, so because of the way it's set up, the Democrats and Republicans are getting their petition signatures right now, and they're done maybe in a couple weeks. And then mine doesn't start until April 15th. So if there's another green or greens who want to run for local office, there's still time to make that decision. And I've been trying to, at places where there are progressives, any kind of meeting the protests or anything like that, just kind of casually say, hey, man, there's still time if you want to run. It's kind of last minute, but we can make this happen because there's still time. We haven't started petitioning yet. So as of this moment, I'm the only announced green running for anything.
What kind of
But
responses do you get when you talk to people about running?
good. It's really been positive. And as awkward as it feels when I actually I don't remember if I said this last week. I spent some time with a media consultant who is a friend and actually is a fellow green. And some of the things she recommended is things that are not in my comfort zone, like making more video, Instagram reels, things like that, which is really not. I'm like, like grandpa with the remote for the TV trying to figure out how to, make it
Right.
work. But I'm doing it and I am getting a really good response. And
Okay.
so she's right. It's just me not in my comfort zone for some of that stuff. I can talk in front of a group full of people, but trying to do something selfie like is just, it's awkward. And I have to do 4 takes and it's pretty sad actually.
No, I feel you. Yeah, tech is for the kids. That's easy for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. But the response has been really great so far. And we'll see what happens when it's all said and done, when everybody's petitions are done and we know who's on the ballot for sure and the primary's over with in late June, so we know who the Democrats who are going to be on the ballot and they'll be with me and maybe one or two Republicans this year are actually running in the city. Um then we'll see what the response is cuz I gotta, how do I say this? Um, I got to come at some activists, people who are in office and aren't doing the job, but who are activists and who I do have respect for and who I like as individuals. But as council members, because I'm running for city council, they haven't been doing anything transformative. They haven't been putting up legislation that changes the system. And as activists, people who have led us through Black Lives Matter protests here in town and other things like that, man, I thought once they got into office, they would do something that was a little more that had a little more substance to it. And in my campaign, I gotta call it out. I'm not gonna attack it in a mean kind of way, but if I thought it was so awesome, I wouldn't be running.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
That's what I keep telling people. Like, if you don't like what you see, the Greens a people powered party. We need the people to get in it. So that's one
Mhm.
of the things I just keep trying to push to people. So I've been calling all my friends and a lot of people that I've known over the years and telling them that I'm now going to be in the Green Party running and all this, and they're all interested because I used to run a nonprofit and a lot of my friends used to be part of that and help me out with that. And
Yeah, I saw the
so
video. It looked really cool.
right on, thank you.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I got about 4 or 5 people that I think I'll have being able to run in 2028 or 2026.
Right.
So in the midterms, so I'm really trying to build the party here. I got like my connections are here mostly. So I got a few people, I think, like I said, that are going to be running, and yeah. So I'm also, like you said, I'm trying to do more national stuff. Like you said, it was kind of hard doing both a little bit, but I don't know. I feel like it needs to be done nationally too, and but like connecting with people like you, doing it locally, and finding more local people, and then
Yeah.
helping you guys connect where you don't have to have as much effort to do it, right?
Yeah. No,
So that's
that's
kind of
awesome.
what I'm on. So is there anything else you want to talk about that's on your mind about the Green Party?
Well, yeah, I wanted to. I was thinking about this, and so, and I've had this conversation with a lot of folks, and the people who are consider themselves to be so extreme left, so to speak, that they don't believe in electoral politics. I don't vote. I don't because it's not going to solve anything. That kind of that's where movements go to die. Electoral politics, and I get it. I mean, I've seen the history, but it's a tool in a toolbox.
Right.
Like pick anything that's in my platform and I'm knocking on doors talking to people about those. Or I will be. It's still there's still snow outside here. But I mean, I'm going to meetings and I'm talking about issues and I'm able to use the action of running for office of electoral politics to talk about those issues. And I think it's been interesting. There's a few people who are running here in town who are positioning themselves as I want to be your voice because we don't have a people don't have a voice on city council and I want to be your voice. And I'm okay, that's cute. I get it, but if you're really ensconced in the community and you're already talking with folks, like you asked me just a few minutes ago, Jordan, okay, I'm going to these meetings. What are they saying? What are folks saying? Well, this is how I know what people want. I know what people are complaining about public safety and people are complaining about our utility company because I'm going and I'm talking to these folks. So I'm not going to go and say, I'm going to be your voice. I've been listening to you for years. I've been going to these things forever. And so I've been listening. I can go in now I can get elected to city council and say, I know what people want to happen. And I may have some ideas that get them what folks are saying they want, but in a way they're not used to. So public safety is a concern, and I'm saying we need less police and we need more housing. And we need to take some of that money and somebody on social media last week was complaining how we've defunded the police here in Rochester. They just got an 8% funding increase last year in the budget. There's people don't even realize that we keep throwing more money
Right.
at the same solutions that aren't working. And some of us had to come in and gently say, well, actually, they've gotten an increase in funding. They haven't been defunded. And so, but here are some things that actually science, the data has shown will increase public safety. Give everybody housing, make sure everybody has food, make sure that there's stuff in neighborhoods so that people don't have to travel outside neighborhoods like to go grocery shopping or things like that, make it more walkable. Um, make sure that the infrastructure is taken care of. Man, Sundays my wife and I usually put food in a food stand that's in the neighborhood I grew up in, and just driving there, I swear I thought my car was gonna like totally fall apart. The roads are so bad. And I get it with winter and potholes. I understand how that works, but even in the summertime, they're not all that great, right? In certain areas of town. So it's like those kind of things and that quality of life is what'll give us the public safety, not having a roadblock in every corner with police and checking IDs and stuff like that, which some folks I think want,
Right.
but
Because
that's not going to make us safe.
crime is like a function of poverty, right? If you're not in poverty, you
Yeah,
don't really commit
absolutely.
crimes.
Absolutely.
And then those who
They,
commit crimes when you're not in poverty, they're like white collar crimes. They're like crimes of stealing money, Bernie Madoff style
well,
stuff, which, rather have
some don't
that
even
than.
need to steal it. Our government will just give it to them.
So you were talking about the leftists who don't like politics or whatever, don't like electoral politics. One thing I try to tell them is if the best way to change the system, I guess I probably sound like a broken record, is to try to get in it, right? Like if they don't think that voting works, then do like I say, a Bernie Sanders run and then just get on the pedestal or on the podium or whatever and say what you think the people need to hear, right? Whether you win or not. you can at least get your voice out, get your thoughts out, and then the electoral politics can work at least that way, where you can at least talk to people.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's the reason Eugene Debs kept running for president. He ran for president in jail, in prison. So, I mean, it's getting. I've had family and friends for years. Oh, Dave, why don't you just run as a Democrat? And I'm like, well, I don't want to participate in that system, how they choose who their candidates are, because I've seen the inside of that. I haven't been in it, but I've seen it because I've actually worked with Democrats who have run for office. And so I've, from that perspective, I've seen how that system works. And I don't want a piece of that. And even if I never win, all the times I've run and this time, even if I don't win, like we were just talking about, you get to talk to people. People now know what a public utility is because Greens have been running for office here. A lot of folks didn't know and never even heard of a public utility before. Now they have.
Right.
At my website, my campaign site, I'll do the plug, www.daveforchange.org. The beginning has a list of things that I've advocated for in my other times running for office that the people who have won have taken and put them into action.
Oh, nice.
Who, right. Now, some of them, they screwed it up. I would have done it better, but at least, hey, we have a small municipal composting program.
Okay.
Yeah. Now you had to sign up for it, and you got to take your little bucket and go there every week, and which is cool. I have been advocating for a system where just like they come and pick up your garbage and they come and pick up recycling, they would pick up your compost for everybody, not just the few people who were lucky enough to get on the list and sign up ahead of time. So they did it, but I want to see it expanded, right? Because they already did it after I was calling for it. Now I want to see it expanded. For the two other times I was saying, hey, our city should be not just planting trees, we should be planting like fruit trees that'll grow here up in New York State.
Right.
And they're finally, just this past year, put that into the master plan.
Okay.
Took them 12 years to get around to doing it, but it's just whether I win or not, those conversations have an effect.
Right.
And
that's good though.
And, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I could advocate for those things not as a candidate, but I don't think it would get as much notice.
Right. Nice. I like it. So, yeah. Do you have anything else on your mind, Dave?
I'm to be honest with you, I'm getting antsy. I'm ready for the petitioning to start.
The petitioning,
it's gonna be
all right.
6 weeks. It's going to be 6 weeks of just, as the saying, like my hair's on fire. I'll be just, it's going to be 7 days a week, going somewhere, doing something. If it's not knocking on doors, it'll be at our local public market on Saturdays, or there's a festival during my 6 weeks. I'll be outside of that trying to get signatures, coordinating people, volunteers to come help.
How many signatures?
Go door to door.
How many signatures do you need?
Well, so I need 1,500, okay. But your signatures can be challenged. So conventional wisdom, definitely get more than that. Okay. So I'm shooting for 2,500.
Okay, right on.
And I got 6 weeks. I've done it once before. I've gotten that many before. When we had our ballot status, you only need signatures of people in your party, a very small percentage. So I only needed, like, let's say 50 signatures when we had our ballot status. But because we don't now, because of those new rules in New York State, I need 1,500 instead of 50. But this can be any registered voter who lives in the city. So it doesn't have to be just Greens. But it's also campaigning. It forces me to get out and talk to more people. I'd be doing it anyway, but to get on the ballot, I have to get those signatures, which means I have to talk to people. So could I be spending my time and resources on something else with the campaign those 6 weeks? Absolutely. But I'm still going to be talking to thousands of people. So it's a good thing.
Right on. Thousands of people, yeah.
Yep.
Getting the word out. I like it.
Yep.
All right, so
What about you? What do you, you're running, right? What are you doing?
Well, my running right now is easy. I'm running for the neighborhood board. There's 4 spots and only 4 people running, so I'm gonna get it. But I'm going to be running in 2026 for the U.S. Senate. Like again,
Nice.
mostly to get the word out. I mean, I'm not really expecting to win, but I'm gonna try to win and hope to win. But like you, I want to say some things. Talk about universal health care. I'm big on the food forest and stuff.
Yep.
And so I want to do that out here. Like you said, the composting and things. Like I think we should do that neighborhood. Like we should have a neighborhood food forest and composting. And out here it'd be real easy. We already have a lot of fruit trees out here. But I'm working on candidates. Like I said, I'm calling a lot of my friends, doing a lot of Facebook messages and stuff, getting people I know, and just letting them know, showing them. Like I got a list of the spots to run for in 2026. And so I'm sending them that, trying to, put in their head. So I think it's only like 7 spots or something like that, maybe 9. And so I don't think it'll be that hard for me to get 7 to 9 people to run. I think I got about 5 already. So
I was about to ask, so are you finding it, how difficult are you find, how are people taking the idea of, hey, you should run for office? I mean, are they, I
most
have
of my
people, when
friends,
I bring that up, people look at me like I'm crazy.
most of my friends are kind of into it, but they looked at me when I was crazy when I started talking about Hapamana, and I started doing that, and then they started coming with me and working with the kids, and then meeting each other, right? Because I would have like a taekwondo instructor, a basketball coach, and then like some doctors, and then like a lawyer and stuff, and like all these different types of people, right? And then they'd be talking to each other and meeting each other, and so I was kind of like trying to bring the community together already outside of politics in a way,
Right.
and so kind of like a politician almost, but just doing it on my own and having the community do it together. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of my vision or my goal for the Green Party is to get people in and then to start doing stuff with the community and using it like as a community organization where we
Mhm.
just run people because we're a political party, and the more people like if we have like mayors and governors and stuff like so one of the things I saw is that our train system right in Hawaii we built a train, and we started in 2005, and the funding has been up and down, and we have like I think it's like 3 miles of no 20 we have 20 miles of train, but it's not very far and it doesn't go to the right place, right? And I was watching this news thing about it the other day, and they were saying that they weren't. There was one time when they gave up on the train because the governor and the mayor had different ideas, right? And that you have to have certain ideas to get stuff done. And so, like, it made me think like if we have more Green Party people, then obviously we can get more Green Party ideas or more left wing ideas, more community style ideas. So yeah, I'm just trying to get people coming, and I'm telling them my idea. Like, and all my people already know about Hapamana, right? And
Yeah.
so they already know how I feel and like what I think about community. So most people really like that. So it's a little bit easier since they know who I am and how I do to ask somebody to do something for me, like because they'll know I'll do a lot for them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and
No,
plus
that's,
running
and that's
for the thing is not just doing something for me; it's doing something for themselves.
right. I, I mean, a lot of folks might not believe this. I'm actually an introvert.
Oh, okay,
And well, I mean, when I talk about, so when I run for office, I don't look at it as I'm running for office. It's like here's these ideas and they need to get out there. So
right,
I'm just doing that. It's not, hey, look at me. In fact, I get embarrassed about, hey, look at me.
exactly.
But hey, look at single payer healthcare.
Yeah, that's
I'll
a lot
be that
easier.
spokesperson for it. I got that. I got, hey, how about fruit trees and in our abandoned lots? I got that. I mean, that's not about Dave. That's about trees and
Right,
composting. And I get all jazzed up about talking about that, but promoting myself is, man, I'd
that's a
rather
lot.
help you run for office than me run for office, to be honest with you. That's just my personality. I like running campaigns. But I go out in front because someone's got to do it.
Someone has to do it exactly. That's what I
Someone's
keep
got to do
trying
it.
to tell people.
Yep.
But my friends understand that, right? Because that's what I was saying with Hapamana. Like, hey, man, we just need to do this. Like, the kids need help. Let's
Yep.
just go help them. And so, see, like COVID shut that down, right? So that was like a political thing. If we had a Green Party president, or say Bernie Sanders won in 2016, we would have had universal health care already, right? And then we would have handled COVID way differently. and maybe wouldn't have shut stuff down and might still be helping the kids out right now. But because of the politics we have and the president we had and the way they did everything, it's like, oh, we don't know what we're doing. We're just going to shut it down for a while. Like, okay, well, that works.
Well, that the shutting stuff down during the pandemic did show some things that we could have people work from home and it would work out, right? Like you don't have to be in an office to be able to do most jobs. Or um, the government could step in and do price controls on food, clothing, shelter, and put a hold on rent and not allow evictions, right? And the country still survives. So when folks just say, "Oh, the free market, we got to let the market take care of it," the pandemic did show it. I mean, I get it. So it might have been a little drastic, but at least it showed us, hey, man, we could actually do some of these things like rent control and good cause eviction laws that we just passed here in Rochester. We could do that, and the country will not implode. We can do some socialist things that will not, drive us into the sea, so to speak.
So what is a good cause eviction law? I think that's what you said.
So yeah, it's something like that is where it's a law where you have to have a real reason to evict somebody. So if I'm a landlord and you're my tenant, and you sign a lease with me, and your lease is up, right? Or even if it's not, I, I'm going to renew your lease by law unless there's a good reason that you go. Some that you have to go. So I can't just say, you know what, Jordan, I'm just gonna kick you out, jack up the rent, not really fix anything up, and I'm just gonna start making more money off of this apartment I own, and you're out of a place to live.
Okay.
And with gentrification, we find
About
that
to say
happening a lot in
anti-gentrification
cities.
laws.
Oh my God, Hawaii! Like I got to tell you about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So these laws are supposed to prevent that. Doesn't mean you can't get rid of a bad tenant.
Right.
It just means you can't make somebody homeless just because you want to jack up the rent and make more money.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a
And
good law.
I had a student once, and I wasn't even teaching anything like civics. It was a science class I was teaching, and just out of nowhere, I would go ahead and guess that his family was having some housing instability. Just asked me. He said, "Hey, how come we have to pay to have a place to live?" And it's like
How
out of the
old was
mouths
he?
of babes, right? And I was like, "That's a really good question. There is nothing ordained by God or anything else like that. It says, hey, housing, something that we need to survive, doesn't have to be a for-profit institution.
How old was your student
Doesn't
that
have,
asked you that?
what's that?
How old was the student that asked you that?
Ninth grade, so about 14.
Okay. Old enough to be able to, like, because that's something like a little kid might ask, right? Like a 5 or 7 year old, like, why do we got to
Right,
pay to stay somewhere? Like, but then a
right,
14-year-old has thought about it for real, right? Because, like, they can, like, cognitively think more or whatever you call it, like problem
yeah.
solving stuff. So, like, for a 14-year-old to ask you that, that's a real question. Like, somebody really thought about that. Like, man, my parents, we're all good people. Like, why do we got to pay for this? Everybody needs a house. Why can't we come up with a way where, like, to me, just pay a house tax, and then we just all get a house, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you need it, like universal health care, universal housing, probably universal food.
Yeah.
I mean, just like roads, right? We got universal roads because we pay taxes. So,
Hey, my thing's always been, look, you want the huge mansion and 3 yachts? Awesome. You work for it. That's great. But everybody should get some place to live first.
right,
And then you want the little yacht for your staff for the big yacht? Okay, you can work for that. Awesome. But everybody should have a place to live first before you get your 3 yachts.
exactly.
That's all.
And actually, now that you bring up yachts, I think I was talking to my girlfriend the other day, but we were talking about parking boats in boats, right? Some people have such big boats that they can park a boat in it, and I'm like, that's
Yeah.
crazy. And you got homeless people, but then when you have a boat that big, I don't think any one person deserves a boat that big. That's like something that like people invented and designed and made this grand thing. If you got a
Yeah.
boat like that, it should just be shared around. Like everybody should get a week on that boat or something. Everybody should get to throw a party every now and then on that boat. You should make a boat for everybody that we could just get on and then take our turn and get off because you're not using it that much. It's got to sit there most of the time, I would think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're too busy being a capitalist trying to take over everything to be
Yeah,
on your
run
boat
the
all the
world.
time. Yeah.
But
Well,
also,
I tell I tell my social studies students when I'm teaching that is that, look, I have a degree in history. I'm not a name and date person. But I know I can go look stuff up and I know how to research and all that jazz. They don't names and dates don't stick in my head. But what fascinates me about history, what really makes me drawn to it, is the psychology around why people do what they do. So like these rich folk who have like yachts, more than one, like it fascinates me like how they were raised or how they came into being that I don't have enough money yet, right?
Right.
And that really is, while I think it's kind of gross, it does fascinate me that the why the people whose names I will not mention, but pick the rich person of your choice, how they got to the place mentally where like, yeah, I still don't have enough money yet. I need to work and I need to do things to have more money and more things. And it's fascinating to me.
I think it's like a competition to them. They like the numbers like a trophy, right? The more money you have, the bigger trophy you have, and they want to be the one with the biggest trophy at the end of the day, just to be like, hey, look at me, I got this. Like,
Yeah, that's and like I said, that's very interesting to me. I don't want to be like that, but it's fascinating how I try and work brain science into just about anything I teach with my kids because I want them to have that. Hey, something happened that made someone's brain get to a point where, yeah, I'm gonna make a lot of money off of other people's needs to survive. That's interesting to me.
that's kind of the capitalist idea, though, right? You find someone's needs, and if you can provide for their needs, you can make money off of it. And but like explained at the very basic, they try to make it sound good, right? You're supplying somebody's needs or wants or whatever, and then you charge them a fair price because it's a fair price because they're willing to pay it or whatever type of stuff. And then, but yeah, when it gets that big, so like I used to play football, right, and sports a lot, and I used to be real competitive and whatnot. But when I step off the field, I'm not competitive anymore. I don't want to compete with somebody and beat somebody in the game of life because that means you lose in the game of life, right?
Yeah,
And so like when you compete on the money thing, it's not a game, it's part of life, right? Like get on the basketball court and play, and then you step off, you stop, right? Like I'll go as hard as anybody in the game, in the field, on the card game, spades, whatever, right? We can be mortal enemies for like 10 minutes or whatever it is. And then once we stop playing the game, now I don't want to compete with you anymore. I want to cooperate with you. I want to build a food
right,
forest. I want to go do whatever you want to do, make a picnic or whatever it is. I don't care.
right.
But like, what's the point of competing? Like, I don't find the point of competing in life to be worth it. Like, because then I don't want other people to be losing. I don't want to win so much that I'm having you lose at life. I just want to win at a game, and you can lose that game, or I can lose the game, and then we can be done with it.
Right.
But they
Yeah.
bring that game mentality into life, talking about, oh, I need these big numbers. I need these big numbers. That's like what I think their psychology is, and I think it's. I can see it from the sports way, but I just think like bringing it into life is just that's it's not it's obviously not good. Well, to me, it's not good.
Sure. Right. I mean, all the money some folks end up with or resources, because a lot of it's not even like cash. It's like
Stocks and
numbers in a ledger somewhere, but it's not
right.
actual piles of money. Um, that could feed everybody, but they choose to build rockets instead to go to another planet.
You see, his rocket
And
blew up the other day.
yeah, I saw.
It's crazy.
Shots.
It's a lot of money gone in a second.
Yep. Yeah. Could have fed a lot of people. Could have put a lot of people in houses.
Yep, trying to get to Mars though.
Right.
Build houses over there that people can't
Yeah.
afford.
So people can't afford those either.
Right. Have some homeless people on Mars. It's crazy. Okay.
Well, I don't know. Everything's pretty much the same. I'm just focusing on I actually am working on creating the actual platform for public safety. I've started doing I have a rough draft ready, and right now I'm compiling. I like to have uh links to resources, and that's what I'm in the process of, is
Okay.
compiling resources that shows that more police doesn't bring public safety, and then what does is housing and anti-gentrification stuff and stuff
Resources.
like that. Yeah, so I'm trying to find those links to add to there so people can't just read my platform and go, "Oh, well, that's really nice, Dave," in a perfect world, but I want to show them the science behind it.
Right
So
on.
I'm
Yeah,
not that
access to
smart. I
resources
could make up
stops
this
crime.
stuff on my own, man. I'm not that smart.
Right. Let's see. All right. Well, I'll see if I can look up some of those resources. If I find any links, I'll send them to you.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm going through. I got my tagged, bookmarked, whatever you want to call it, just with all the different little post-its all through it, and a bunch of different books that I've read over the years. And I'll just go back and just start combing through those. Like Alex Vitale's The End of Policing, and I'll just, New Jim Crow, just a bunch of places, and just find a bunch of resources there. So it'll be cool.
Right on.
So hoping in the next week it'll be officially out.
What'd you say about next week?
I'm hoping within a week I can have that platform out and
Right on.
about. And
Okay.
like I
Okay.
said, I have the rough draft ready. I just gotta
You be able to
polish it
tell.
up.
You be able to tell me about it next time we talk.
Sure, absolutely. Well, we kind of already talked about it. I mean, less money for police, right? And put that money into people in houses, put them, make sure that there's food, make sure that their basic needs are being met, and you will see crime go down even more.
Right on. I agree with that totally.
Yep.
All right. You got anything else on your mind, Dave?
No, I'm just so busy getting ready to petition and getting ready to be in a parade.
Right on. Well, good luck with your petition and parade.
Thanks.
All right. Well, we will talk to you next week then.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, thanks for coming by, Dave.
All right. Thanks for having me, Jordan.
Yes,
Aloha.
sir. Aloha.